a distance in that same way in all fields.
It is wild that certain entertainment has been able to last generations.
Yeah.
And that entertainment is ultimately a huge money-making business. Today's topic is business and finance, and we're talking about how technology, automation, Web3, AI is making an impact upon business and finance. And certainly there's a lot of great news for us to talk about. And there's a lot of things that we can project in the future coming up and coming forward. I wanted to, kind of start us off today. A lot of business is about living well, right? I mean, like we manage our finances. We try to, as Dave Ramsey just finished up his 3-hour segment, we try to spend less than we make. We try to save. We try to be thoughtful about our finances. And when it comes to business, we are trying to do things that are going to compensate us well. Right? We're going to try to do things that's going to allow us to please our clients and exceed expectations and have our employees stick with us, or be a great employee and make your employer a lot of money and have everybody win with the work that you do. And a lot of what we do in business and finance impacts how we live and ultimately impacts our body, right? We're taking our body either onto Zoom for many people who work remotely, or into the office, or out on the job site, or to school, and that's a big part of what we do. So what I want to spark our conversation today as we are here at Beachside Tech Talk. This is episode 33. Grateful to be here at 13:40 a.m. KOMY.
33 is a pretty cool number.
Everybody likes 33. 33 is a great. It's the Trinity. We're doubling down on the Trinity today. Here's my question for us to start off today. How can this automation tech, how can Web3 and AI empower us to be healthy? How can it empower our body? Because that's a big part of what we do in business, right? We're doing things to make money, to take care of ourselves. How does this stuff help our body? Like, how about this Apple Watch that many of us wear, or the Samsung Watch that some of our listeners are wearing, or the Android Watch? How is this technology helping us? How might it help us in the future? How is technology helping us to live well, and how is it helping our body to be healthy?
I think this is where the word technology means more than just glass screens. This is where technology can mean advanced medical stuff, or even just going farther back once like modern medicine first began to be a thing. I mean, everyone knows that modern medicine was so revolutionary for humans being able to simply live longer, to not die when we're like 50. And now people live to 70, 80, 90, and that's just so much longer. And I think that when modern medicine and things like that came out, it had its own massive spike that we have stayed on. But now we're getting things that make it so we know what's happening individually with each of us. Things like the Whoop Watch or the Apple Watch that let you see what your heart rate is in the moment. Like, that's such a cool thing. Now you don't have to hold your hand or something. The amount of things that have been able to revolutionize the way that we understand our individual body. I mean, people like Brian Johnson, he's made that like a sport for himself, where he's trying to see how good the numbers can get. How long can he live to? That whole idea. And he's found these different unconventional ways, or things that you've never really heard of, to be able to see, okay, can this make me live longer? Can this fix this problem? Can this do that? And I think that overall, people are going to, I might be the first generation that can live to 500. We were talking about that yesterday, Nigel, how my generation...
Even if your generation lives to 130 or 140, that would be a record-breaking thing.
Mm-hmm.
Although if you take the sacred scriptures serious, if you're a Jew or a Christian or a mystic, or even, Muslims will look back at, pre-Abrahamic Jewish writing as a foundational part of their belief. So billions, right? 4.5 billion people would kind of look at the early writings that you might find in the Torah or back in Genesis. Said people live to 1,000 years. A lot of scientific-minded people will try to connect a pre-flood Earth with water surrounding the Earth and kind of protecting humans in a different environment. It seems as though, the way that story is told, that humans weren't supposed to die. But we didn't make it many generations before we messed that up. It just took the first person. It's so crazy. When people tell me, like, can you believe this person did this? Or I don't understand myself. How could I make this big mistake? And I think, dude, first two brothers, one killed the other. Like first two brothers, one kills the other. At least that's the way the account is, right? So some people take that stuff very literal. Some people think of it as a way to inspire them. Some people don't really think much of it at all. Nevertheless, right now, we're kind of been stuck in this cycle where people tap out around 75 to 95. The most extraordinary people might live to 110 or plus. I think there's some people that cracked 120. But apparently, back in the day, people were living for millennia, which is a wild, wild thing to think about. No birth control back then. And, I always laugh when people say, well, we're going to see, we're going to let God decide if we have kids. I'm like, yeah, unless you're infertile, God decides yes. That's what happens. So if you live 1,000 years, you probably are having a massive amount of kids. So it must have been a wild thing when you think about legacy and generation. From time to time, I'll think about castles, like the business of the royal family is to build the next castle, but they aren't going to live in it. Their kids, their grandkids aren't going to live in it. Like it took 100 years to build a castle. But if people were to live for 100 plus years or hundreds of years, that'd probably change the whole mentality of how we think through, how we allocate our time to do things, why we do things for the long haul. So that's obviously a tangent, but I think it all ties into how does technology help our body to be healthy? How does it help us to live well? Because I think it's a worthy question to answer and a worthy question to ask ourselves, because so often we think about AI and Web3 as like crypto, making money, fun, playing games, creativity, making art, right? Like assistant, having less things to worry about. You don't have to ask a consultant or an advisor or an employee. You just ask an AI. So we constantly think of these things in that realm. But from my experience, I've asked the AI tools a tremendous amount about my health. It was a primary go-to during my 40-day water-only fast that I did about 3 months ago. And so I found it to be huge. And I'll go back to the watch thing. I remember I was watching
It's just a better search engine.
It certainly is a better search engine. There's no doubt. I was watching an Apple commercial about their new watch. This is probably 6 years ago. And they had this whole thing about people falling down. And when they fall down, the watch knows they fell. And it had this whole story about a grandma that fell. And she might have it might have been catastrophic had the watch not alerted the medical. And I started crying. I'm watching a commercial and tears are streaming down my face because Apple tapped into my emotions. And I believed that piece of technology, that piece of automation right there, that is helping people be healthier. That is helping people live well. And so let's dive into this a bit deeper. How can technology help our body be healthy? How can it help us live well? I want to dive into this a bit more.
Well, to piggyback off of what you just said, I'm going to give something more of a practical example, real life example that actually happened. So, it was something that was unexpected, but made complete sense when it happened. So I have a friend, she's 81 now. And, we walk together sometimes. Since I hurt my leg, it was even more. We were both walking with walkers, which was kind of interesting. But as she started walking, keep up with, with her health, and it's good to be active, God bless, at 81 years old. Shout out to my friend Marilyn. It was interesting that when we put an app on her phone for her to track the number of steps that she was taking, what that turned into, because it went from, oh, this would be interesting, to her actually looking at it and saying, I walked less time than I did the day before. I walked slower than I did the day before. So even just in that simple process, she was tracking the metrics. And the thing is, you can't get better at anything you don't measure. Other than that, it's just an opinion. Like I've always, since social media first came out, when, Facebook was out, one, I'd never understood a friend request. That was weird to me, still is. The other thing is people with commenting and calling it engagement and saying things like, wow, great, amazing. It has no value. What is good? What is fast? Unless it's relative to something else. There has to be a benchmark. So that measure is one of the greatest things that we have. And now with AI, we have the ability to not just collect the information, but to actually analyze it and take information from it, to use what's already done and mix it together and come up with some kind of formula that, fits for ourselves.
Yeah.
It also brings up, on the other side of it, more interesting questions. And I'm going to give you a super practical example. We would walk, and right around an hour, we would be at the same spot. We would know that in an hour, the person would say, "You've walked 1 mile." Not an hour, it's a mile. "You've walked 1 mile," and it would give you the pace. But it was always right around the same time. So here's a friendly disclaimer. It's something that I think people who, kind of dismiss, the importance of data. I thought to myself at that moment that if somebody knew when we were walking, they could pretty much predict with almost pinpoint accuracy where we would be at the point and you don't think about that. So when you see things, for me, it's always been this way. When you hear, "Oh, we'll share this with our third parties." Who are your third parties? Well, we don't know. We'll figure that out. Well, how about figuring it out now?
Right.
Because you don't think that, well, we would never do that. How do I know that?
Yeah.
Like the fact that could happen, that someone could look at your driving data, your walking data, your data, and all of a sudden just pop up on you. Like if I had an 80% chance of knowing where someone would be, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a really, really good point.
So those are the things that I think there's a balance between the opportunity that exists in technology, which I believe it is, and then the responsibility and accountability on the other side. And our accountability is to challenge these kind of loose sort of frameworks when the stakes are just so high. Like recognizing it that could be that high. Not that that's necessarily going to happen, but it could. So just something to think about.
Yeah. Kenny, you want to jump in? How do you imagine technology helping your body be healthy? How does you imagine it helping you live well? You're a football player. So, I imagine there's things that you've done to kind of think through leveraging technology for your sport. And you're overall just a great athlete. You like to play lots of different sports, and you've always been healthy and more so all the time. So tell me, what do you think about how does this technology, how does AI and or Web3 help our body to be healthy, or how could it?
Yeah. So a lot of times that I've done lately, and I used to do a lot more than I do now, but I would go on ChatGPT or some AI, and I would ask it what's like the best workout routine for just that I can do at home, no weights, just push-ups or something like that. And it'll give me a whole routine. Same with football, like you were saying. I would ask it, what's the best drills I can do for training my footwork as a quarterback or something like that. And then it would give me another routine. And also, like they were saying, watches also really help me. I have my Apple Watch, and it has those rings, and I can adjust my daily goals of the rings, and I try to complete it when I wear my watch and stuff at school. So yeah, I think that's helpful for me.
I see it with mom and dad. They're 73, 72. I do see technology making an impact. Even just little things, they will go through the supermarket now and they use this app. You know what that app is that they use? Riza, you have that app. What's that called? The app where you take a picture of the food.
It's YUKA.
Yeah, you.
Yeah.
So YUKA. So mom and dad, when they go shopping at Costco, Trader Joe's, Safeway, wherever they're going to buy the things they want and need, it used to be that they would maybe look at the back ingredients and say, is there, high fructose corn syrup? Okay, shouldn't get that. Is there food dye in it? Okay, we shouldn't get that. And that was basically as far, okay, is there too much of this type of calorie? Okay, too fat, too much sugar, too much carbs, so whatever it is. Oh, we shouldn't get, is there enough protein, right? And so that's basically how, now you just use this Yuka app, take a picture or scan it, and it will basically rate it. You've used it, yes?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's pretty cool and pretty simple. You most foods have a QR code in the back now.
Yeah.
and it works off the QR code. We'll rate it like a 0 through 5, I think, and I don't know if it's a star or maybe
It's 0 through 100
on their food scale.
Yeah, you scan the barcode.
It'll rate it that way, and then I think most people are following it for specifics, like you were saying. If someone has a heart condition and they need to watch sodium intake, or they need to increase an iron intake, or they diabetic or something, they don't really watch their sugars, so it'll help them track the food that they get. But for me, the depressing part of it was going through it, and I'm trying to put stuff in the basket, and it's like walking up with like 3 items maybe.
Ever since you got that app, you've been hungry, huh?
Yeah. And then I look in the basket and it's like, am I feeding the turkeys outside, or am I actually, you need to adjust your diet accordingly is where that's at.
Yeah, it can almost make it hard to find things because you realize that so many of the things that we consume are just not what we want to consume. And now that we're able to just have this easy way, this like easy UI and this way to just easily see what it actually is, then it's like, oh wow. And they also have like a little color meter where it's like green is really good, that's like 100 out of 100, and then sometimes I'll find like 5s, 5 out of 100. I'm like, dang dude, that's a very, very red color.
It's funny talking about that food app, the Yucca app. I know that there's a Green Thumb nursery in Santa Cruz that has started an AI-powered plant care advice. And I thought that was pretty cool because neighborhoods are actually getting together and creating gardens with each other and planting different things so they can actually have their own little salad out in the backyard. And the Green Thumb nursery it's providing a lot of information on like how to help garden better, potential diseases for your plants, things like that. Make sure you don't overwater because plants are very sensitive. They all require specific care. And so they send out reminders for you if you're growing with them, certain things that, this is the time to water. Let's keep on schedule with that. This is the time it'll need to be fertilized and stuff like that. So not only are people learning to grow their own veggies better, but they're growing them together. So I thought that's pretty awesome too. Out in Aptos, we have also, I got a couple of friends and stuff that still have chickens in the backyard. They're growing begonias and stuff like that on like a yearly basis. And it's really cool to see how, people are bringing those things together. They're sharing their eggs, they're sharing their flower gardens out with their local communities, bring them down to the beaches and stuff like that. So it's super cool.
Yeah.
Like it.
Me too. Well, we still got a couple minutes. Any negative impact you guys see on our bodies and our wellness and our health due to AI and Web3?
Too much noise.
There's a lot of noise. That may not be good for our mind. First
thing I'm thinking of is like, if anyone's familiar with a new product that's a water hydrogenator.
Yeah, you've been using that.
Yeah,
I think so, right?
I that's a perfect statement. I think so too, because I noticed that it's a plug-in and you watch the thing activate and a lot of bubbles are churning from the bottom, and it has a timer and it goes off in like a minute after creating these hydrogen bubbles. And when I pop the lid, I always hear a little, and I think to myself, okay, I'm watching the bubbles. They rise to the top and then they disappear. And like we all know, bubbles, they're just gas. So how is it staying in my water? And when I heard the air release, when I popped the thing, where's the hydrogen going? And so I'm a little puzzled on that one as to how much hydrogen I'm actually getting in water, but cool product. Doing the research behind it, it's supposed to help open your blood vessels and help you exercise better and rejuvenate quicker. So I'm waiting to see if there's any benefits on that. And I'm wondering if it's like red light therapy or something like that.
Right.
So we'll see.
Well, Nigel, we're about to go to commercial break. Any final thoughts as we transition?
One quick tip. I think check everything. A great app that has, good things. Take a couple of examples, throw it into your AI and see if it actually comes up with the same answer. I think that's a good way for you to try to just make sure what you see is what you get.
Did you know that companies are slashing fraud in finance by 40% with Web3 and AI tools right now? At least that's what we're told. Welcome to Beachside Tech Talk, episode 33. My name's Ian Utile. I'm here with my co-hosts, Dan, Nigel, and Malakye. Ted's missing today, but we have Kenny filling in for him, my 12-year-old son. And here on this show, we talk about how Web3 AI, all things automation, empower business and finance. Right now, we're going to focus on kind of the news of the day. So just picture everyone benefiting. I think that's the goal, right? That we want to ride an optimistic wave together and that we want to believe that tech can prosper us all. At least that is the ideal outcome. As far as news updates, I'll start with one that I thought was very encouraging to me. A friend of mine, Jeremy Almond, he has a company called Paystand. And Paystand is a blockchain finance company. At first, he wanted to call his company the PayPal Killer. So this is probably 10 years ago. That was like his thing, on the PayPal Killer. Then he realized the significance of Bitcoin and blockchain. Well, they just hit the 5th year in a row on the Inc. 5000 list. So this is for private American companies, the 5,000 fastest growing companies in America. It's hard to hit that list once. It's really hard to hit it 5 years in a row. Like, that's a huge accomplishment. I believe it's a local Santa Cruz company based out of the city of Scotts Valley. I believe it's valued at over $1 billion. So I was quite encouraged to see that news update, because that's a local Santa Cruz company that is doing great. It's really important that we have our local entrepreneurs thrive. So Jeremy Almond, congratulations, and to your entire team, really impressed with what you guys are accomplishing. Any other cool news updates on your guys' end that you guys have noticed over the last week or so around business and finance and the impact of tech?
I think yesterday, actually, maybe the day before, I was just talking with AI about what it's going to do. Like, what can I use you for to help me with this upcoming year of school? And it's crazy, the applications. I think a little story that I have here is that motivate students via AI teaching blockchain for future finance roles here in Central California. So we're able to have these new technologies being integrated into schools. I don't know whether this is something that's happening right now in this present moment, or whether it's something that can happen in halfway through the school year or in the next school year. But I do believe that, I mean, big colleges or maybe even high schools eventually, that we're able to have classes that are just straight up teaching you what this blockchain stuff is, or that probably it'll be something that just happens. Like, we didn't have to teach kids how to use social media. Social media just came and kids used it because it's social media. It's like this new technology. And I think that's what's going to happen with blockchain. It's not going to be something we have to teach people necessarily. It's just going to be something people learn throughout day-to-day life. And I think that's going to be first applying to students. So to give you a little call out, if you're young, you should probably try and get yourself into this now, because then you can be way ahead of the curve.
I think I'm looking at a number of different stories. I mean, but they all seem to come to the same conclusion. Obviously, well, maybe not so obviously, but bottom line is AI is definitely impacting business and how we do things and our ability to process massive amounts of data, as well as the automations are going to take repetitive tasks and put them in a way that they don't take up as much human capital, if you would. The point in all that is, I think from a corporate perspective, especially from the employee perspective, which is where I am going to choose to engage the most, because I feel like there's a lot of information and news about the company's done great, this company's doing great, that company's doing great, this sector, this organization is doing great. But I don't find that there's as much news about individual employees doing great. So in my mind, to kind of balance this out, I feel like let's not forget that this technology can be used the other way. It's a double-edged sword. It works both ways. We both have access to the same tools. The same way a company can look at its goals and align everyone in the organization to its goals using AI and automation and what have you. I think individuals and employees can align their goals to harmonize with the organization's goals in a way that does not necessarily step on their dreams, ambitions, or aspirations, or even visions, and find new and more interesting ways to approach situations. Because I think organizations are nothing without the people. And I'm sure that all the ideas come from the people, and they don't always come from the managers that present them. They come from sometimes the employees that share these things with the managers, and then the managers step out in front. I'm not saying everybody, operates in that way, but that happens from time to time. Sometimes your idea doesn't get presented because it's not presented in the right way. The manager knows how to present it, so that's how it gets its attention.
Yeah.
So I feel like AI gives us that opportunity to explore different ways of presenting ideas that we have. We may not even have it fully formed, but it can help you flesh it out. And the more comfortable we get with just talking to it like a friend and just saying what it is we feel, and then saying, help me organize this into something that makes more sense, that might be appealing to, a middle level manager or C-suite.
Right.
Executive, I think that gives us a real opportunity, and it's just a matter of recognizing that that's possible and trying it. And I'm not saying it's going to work, but I'm saying you have a way better chance of it working than not.
Yeah. Any other news updates that you guys have seen that's been hitting your, kind of tickling your mind? It does feel like there's a lot that goes on in the Silicon Valley around business and finance, because this is the epicenter of a lot of technology, not just AI and Web3. That's the big hot thing today, but a lot of different things around technology happen here. Anything else go ahead.
I think that something really important, especially for here in the Silicon Valley, almost everyone here, or really anyone that I would know, knows what Coinbase is. It's that big exchange where you can buy and sell crypto. That's like a good way to summarize it. And actually, in about you said it was like 2 weeks, they're going to be having a big event that they're doing up in San Francisco. So can you explain a little more about that? Because you know more than I do.
Yeah, so August 20th through the 24th, Base On-Chain Summit, which is a Coinbase event, is being put on. Our friends at CIK are the primary co-sponsors. So I'll be speaking at the event, doing panels. I'll be being in the media room, capturing lots of content. We'll be sharing what we've built on Base. So our company, Attention Live, has built what we believe is the ideal content creator tool, both for individuals and organizations that create content. And we tied it into the Base blockchain, which is Coinbase's blockchain. We tied it into the Base wallet, which is the Coinbase version of a digital wallet. So we're really excited about this. And I think the thing about Coinbase that's easy for people to nod their head yes on is Coinbase is the big exchange in America. Coinbase is highly regulated. It meets all the compliance. Brian, who is the CEO, he goes into the White House and he's influencing policy, and policy's influencing his decisions. He just posted something kind of fun the other day. He tried to hire the founder of Ethereum, Vitalik. And Vitalik wanted to work for him, but couldn't get a work visa from Canada. And so they almost struck a deal for Vitalik to be on staff at Coinbase back in 2013. And it didn't work out. So that's when he launched Ethereum instead, which is a wild thing, right? You sometimes have these hits and misses, but that's one of the things that happens at events like On-Chain Summit, which is in San Francisco, August 20th through the 24th, is you have these amazing connections. The next thing you know, all of a sudden, it's like an open door. And I will walk through this thing. Like, what's going to happen with this? Or it's a closed door. And then that drives you to make this other decision. That in Vitalik's case was obviously world changing, as Ethereum is a crazy, if you think about how big Ethereum is.
Yeah.
Right. It's just so big. 11-figure market cap. Maybe it's even hit a 12-figure market cap at some point, and can go further and further as people value that. Any other news of the day that you guys have in front of you or have on your mind that you might want to share? As we think about the impact of business and finance, right? Obviously, a lot of people think through everything that happens in regard to AI and blockchain as business. And how about for you, Kenny? You're looking at being able to make some money. You've been on the show a couple of times. You like jumping on the business one so you can learn what we're talking about with business. You're thinking about starting at least one, if not a couple different things are on your mind. So what have you seen? What's encouraging you with this technology?
Yeah, so right now, a lot's encouraging me, I guess I could say. For encouragement, I watch YouTube videos all the time, and I look at these videos on how to make money with AI, and it's all about how you can just sit down and be lazy and just make money. And it's like such a dream, you know? It's like being 12 years old, that's like peak, you know? But
It's all down there from there, huh, Kenton?
yeah, but
Love it.
I was watching those YouTube videos, and I was like going and trying to do the things they were saying, and I just couldn't ever work it out because you always need like $150 left over that you have to spend for memberships and stuff. And I was like, okay, I got to find a different way. So then I go and I look at other YouTube videos on like knocking door to door, trying to find a like business thing, and I find the car detailing. And then I found all these ways you can use AI. So I used AI a lot of times. I don't use any web browsers except for AI, if you count that as a browser, but it's not really a browser. I didn't use any web browsers to find the products I'm looking for. I only used AI. I found the soaps using AI, found the towels using AI, found the power washer using AI. I found everything using AI. I also found how much I should charge on AI. I found like the area I should do it at with AI. I use a lot of AI for my business to make money.
What did AI tell you to do the family deal for? Exactly. There you go. Nothing there.
That's so typical. Yeah, I haven't made $1 yet, but where's my discount?
Right. That is so typical. That is basically the thing that entrepreneurs face, right? Mm-hmm. And Dan himself, he's an entrepreneur, and that has happened to him and everybody in the trades. It's like, hey, dude, I want to have you help me build, remodel. Can we do a trade? Can I make you some honey? I got bees. You don't need cash, do you?
I have to entertain the discount. And you know what? The old barter system, clams and shells, is what we came from. So yeah, it works sometimes. You can trade skill for skill, and that feels a lot better too, because there really is no monetary value put onto it. It's actually exchanging time for time, and that brings together a closeness too. That's, to me, is the essence of community.
Yeah.
So I lean into that type of stuff.
Well, I had just had some questions. Like, as you were going through your research, were there times where you found that, like, oh, this seems like a scam, or this doesn't make any sense?
Yeah, a lot of times with the towels I've been looking at, it seems like total scams. They're like it's like these little plushy microfiber towels for like $50, and I was like, it also was kind of my part, because I asked AI like what's the best rated towels, and it came up with like these big giant plushy like super fluffy like $100 microfiber towels. And then I looked at the reviews, and it was just reviewed by the people who made it. That's why it was like 6 reviews, and it's just by the people who made it. It was.
So what did you learn from that?
Did you see any of the chamois that they offer, like artificial leathers and things like that? Because that's the stuff that material that really absorbs the water, and then you consistently wring it out and use it multiple times.
Oh no, I never saw that.
Yeah, chamois. Look into the chamois. They might be a little bit more expensive, but you just can wipe that water and wring it out. Keep wiping.
Yeah.
Maybe. Anybody in the room here know what a chamois is?
Oh yeah, chamois is the best thing you can do to dry a car, no doubt. Yeah.
I'm just fascinated to hear that experience, because I know when I first started looking into things on the internet, that was what I was finding a lot. You just get these, why is this even here?
Yeah.
Kind of moments. So I'm good. I'm glad to see that, through the generations, it's at least consistent. I'm not losing my mind. Good stuff.
I did take a deeper peek at what's happened with pay stands. So they've grown by almost 400% the last 3 years. They now are transacting over $10 billion in fees through their system, have over 1 million customers. So really impressed by what they're doing. There's also a lot of big things happening right now in the finance space around AI. So a lot of money's been raised recently. There's a company called Rillet that raised $70 million, and they have an AI for accounting. And that allowed them to double their annual revenue in 12 weeks. So that's quite something. Another company that's huge called Ramp, they raised $500 million, and they have AI agents that basically take care of accounting tasks. So it's incredible to see how AI is impacting finance across the board.
You know, the smaller guys, businesses that I think about that have just are booming in the last few years because of AI and because of automation and reaching out to local customers, food trucks. You guys know the food trucks, right? You see them. I mean, they are like, they can pull themselves into parking lots. They can pull themselves into festivals, a weekend concert or things like that. And I see these different food trucks that are being built, and being from a building background, I look at them and I just go, you know, that truck had to cost a couple $100,000 to build, just with the inside cooking systems and the exhaust and then the graphics and the type of truck that it is. Just
It's a big investment.
Crazy thing. But the point I'm trying to get to is, you know, 50 years ago or even 40 years ago, there was, you know, no such thing except maybe someone bringing their sandwiches to work. That was the food truck. But, you know, I find that's those little local artisanal things that are being able to really touch into the new digital age and expand their little nuance and system. You know, who thought that everybody loves food and good cooking, and these trucks are actually, they are able to put an identifier onto the type of cuisine that they serve up. You know, you find one that has this super special flavor. It's a great Thai, or it's a jerk chicken truck, or it's a super Subway sandwich maker, and they get the graphics going, and all of a sudden, you know, then they got the QR code on the front of the truck, and you can pre-order, and you got the number and the names, the Pleasure Point special sandwich, and he's got these, you know, modifiers and names that are going in, and just people just like the way that is marketed and engaged. They get their favorite type of sandwich or number, and it's just, you know, it's repeat evergreen customer, and I find that's really starting to bloom, and it's awesome.
Well, I had a question about that specifically. How much do you think marketing plays a big role, but where do you think the balance is between marketing and quality? Do you think there's still the opportunity for someone to just be good and not have all the savvy, fancy marketing and still win and crush it?
I think the little guys actually are able to touch into and have a more personal experience with their clientele, and they build a friendship, and then, you know, maybe they share something with social media, they keep in contact with each other, and then they share that with their friends, because friends come over and say, if it's a couple of women that maybe, I really like those earrings that you picked up, I've never seen something. Well, they're at a specialty boutique shop down in the Capitola Esplanade, you know, named XYZ. And that's how we get this small community investment into our local businesses and shops, because that's how we thrive. That's how we support. We spend our money in our local areas.
And from businesses, I'm just going to say this, from a business perspective, I think one of the big pieces that I'm seeing now is how word of mouth recommendations is not necessarily translating the same as a comment or a share. If I say to you, Ian, I have the best plumber in the world, you know, and I say that to you, it's way more powerful than you know, sharing a link.
Exactly.
It has a different feel.
Yeah, no doubt.
Nigel and I spent a few minutes just yesterday, the day before, at a couple of surf shops, and we'll talk about that in a few minutes when we get back.
Yeah. Well, these updates have sparked growth in business and finance from Web3 everywhere. From Kenton's first small business to massive corporations. Business and finance is being rattled by this. Imagine AI co-creating your success, the things that you want to make, and blockchain protecting your creations. We are thrilled for this futuristic dive into what Web3 and AI can change in business and finance. It's an amazing future what they're going to be able to let us do by just being the humans that we've always wanted to be, not having to do busy work and things like that. And how do you guys think this is going to affect the sector like business and finance?
Nice intro. I had mentioned two companies that just raised a lot of money. Realit raised $70 million. Ramp raised $500 million. So I'll just mention some projections. You know, one of the ways that companies raise money is they cast a vision of what could be. So here's what these companies basically are telling the world that they're going to accomplish in the next month or so. Realit says we're going to integrate into all small business accounting, and this will help onboard all of the mom and pop businesses faster into automated ledgers, the Web3 world. We're going to use AI to do it, and it's going to be magical, right? So that's the vision that they're casting, and that's how they raised $70 million. Ramp says our AI agents, which is a AI that's custom built just to do a singular task for a person or organization, their agents happen to be accounting type agents. They say that if we raise this money, if we get the $500 million that we need, then we will be able to pilot with all the mid-market companies. We don't care about the small businesses. We're not looking at Fortune 500. We're all about the mid-market companies, and we're going to do wild things for these mid-market companies that run a lot of our infrastructure. So these are the visions that they cast, right? No organization is going to raise a Series E $500 million round at a $22 billion valuation like Ramp unless they can cast a great vision. And the same thing with Realit. No one's going to raise $70 million on a Series B unless they can cast a compelling vision. And so those are two things that I noticed were kind of picked up, online. Any other things that you guys, are thinking about in terms of what could be? I'll tell you one thing that could be. I learned I could move this monitor. I was like stretching like this. I was away from the microphone and trying to see my brother Dan. And now I realize the monitor is mobile and I have a nice view of the sweet one.
We had a connection through the monitor. I was never too worried about that kind of stuff.
That's true.
But I think that I'm still into an intermediate phase of my Web3 and crypto endeavors. I've done a lot of learning in the last few years. I worked in construction from right out of high school until I was in my early 50s, and I kind of transitioned into a tech-based new finding and new direction of life. But the point I'm trying to get to is, Ian, from what you were saying, there's a lot of numbers going on there. And as you were saying it just, I had to like write a couple things down just to, try and keep up a little bit, but it makes sense. You know, how these companies are actually going to start forming these businesses that will help immute these different policies or different laws or even rules that people are putting in place. But for me, what I wanted to do was I wanted to get more to a ground roots based level. And I've surfed most of my life. And I know that there's a local organization that is the World Surfing Reserve, and they are based here in our Santa Cruz area, and they want to help keep beaches clean. But they've also been able to be an example of how mixing community and surf like ethos, keeping that beach, keep clean. Keeping the businesses operating and running, and just constantly promoting that clean beach and clean atmosphere. They're doing great work. And I thought that was a little bit more of a ground level from the Web3 that people think is just so complicated. And the point I was trying to get to is that it can start with something as simple as a surf shop, getting together with coalitions, and the World Surf Reserve is actually reaching out beyond our local communities, getting together with the World Surf Leagues and things like that to push their ideas and their ethos forward.
I think you said a word that just stuck out in my head, and it's example. That one in a row as I like to say, is so important, because whether it's vision or the utility of moving a monitor, when you see an example, it makes it more tangible. It makes it more accessible, or at least that it gives that feeling.
I think that's where we're going to get the adoption. Is the example that's being set, and it starts small and then moves big. You know, it starts on a beach cleanup and then moves to a $40 billion acquisition.
Mhm.
Yeah, once
So-
people start to realize, oh, I don't need to stuff a bunch of receipts into my purse anymore or into my glove box. Oh, now I can just pull up my phone, and then it goes into the little wallet thing that I had set up last week. And now I don't have to carry things around or throw them away. Now I get to keep all my receipts, and I can go back whenever I want, and it's already right in my phone. I already pay with my phone now. I mean,
Right.
Apple Pay hasn't existed for a long time.
We're going to have a transitional period that comes up pretty soon.
Yeah.
I was talking with Nigel just the other day about it, and all of a sudden I had what I thought was a flash of genius for a second, because
You always have flashes of genius.
didn't you know someone or meet someone, Ian, who was affiliating with passports on
Steven.
on a Web3 blockchain? Okay, it was that.
Phenomenal. What he's already accomplished, what he's working on.
I had this ding off in my ring because I was looking for my passport the other day, and I'd realized it, where I put it is not a very big area. So it's here, and where could it possibly be?
Right.
I realized I had stuffed it underneath a mirror, so it was kind of hidden. And I thought to myself, man, you lose this thing, it's like, what a bummer.
What a bummer.
Huge, it's weeks to get a new one. It's not that expensive, but what a hassle
It's a
and
total hassle.
an
Really
annoyance.
is. Mhm.
So birth certificates, death certificates, I think those are going to be something. There's going to be a pivotal moment when we start switching these certificates onto a blockchain. Those are the ones that seem to be like critical, because it has to do with beginning and the ending of life, but it's in need to have the proper documentation. No fooling around, can't be edited or adjusted or changed, or we just had, when our president came into office this last year, remember they were talking about going through the Social Security and finding people who are 150 years old who are still supposedly getting paychecks from the Social Security office because the system was so antiquated, in a beta of zeros and ones type of thing. So we're going to move to these things, like, and the transition will be something sounding simple like a birth or death certificate, because it's such a necessity, or possibly a receipt of ownership, like maybe your car, or possibly the deed to your house. The deed to the house is just trillions of dollars of an industry. So maybe that's not going to be the one that adopts right off the bat. But the registration or deed to your car is going. How many times you got to leave this piece of paper inside your glove box if something ever happens? You got to fiddle around with it. But these things are going to be available to pull up on any one of your devices, and they'll be in a cloud that's not just going to be on your device, but through a passcode or something. You'll have such easy, great, true access to them, and it's going to help us a lot.
Something came to mind as you said that, in the adoption process. And I think about it in terms of how automation typically works, or how it gets legs. When you're working on something and you're building that example, that one, it's usually a manual process. And especially with AI, it becomes important because you want to know that you're getting the result at the end that you're looking for. But if it took you 4 hours, you're like, man, am I going to do this 4 hours every day for, 7 times a week, or whatever the case may be? That's a lot of work. But if I just put the effort and time in now, which might be front loaded very heavily, might be weeks, might even be months. But if it's going to make that 4 hours 4 minutes, or maybe even 2 minutes, like, is it worth the effort? I think that, between bureaucracy, competing interest, and other things, we have those elements that stand in the way of progress. They're obstacles, but they're not insurmountable. They're not like really problems. They're just things that people won't do. So, just in getting into that process, I feel like one of the things we have to start with when we look at adoption is to immediately add in those competing interests, those at the beginning, so that we're not confusing. This is the Blockchain's not the problem. It's just that there's implementation pieces that come with it. Let's talk about those separately so that we don't, what's the word I'm looking for? We don't have it spill over into the other ones. We don't conflate it into something that it isn't, because that to me starts to make it a bigger problem than it actually is. And we were talking about this before we came in here. I think one easy way to look at it, at least I think so, is this: don't make something more than what it is, and don't make it less than it is either.
I think when you take something like the technology that is blockchain, Web3, this new idea that we can constantly talk about how amazing it is, the things that are going to be great from it. And of course, it's going to apply in day-to-day life, but it's not going to be like, I see different colors, but it's going to be very different. Life is going to be different because of it. And when you think about how we're going to get there, I think it's important to realize that things do happen by the big players, but also they happen by just each individual person. And the way that things will really happen is based off of the incentives and motivations that each person or corporation has. And so if you have a bunch of motivations and maybe like regulations that push them further into the path of trying to see what this blockchain stuff is and maybe try and learn a little more, I don't know, maybe even try and get fully into it. Once you start motivating them and incentivizing them through regulations or whatever it is, that's how you really make things happen. But it also completely depends on each individual person. And especially for like my people, the young generation, we're the ones who are really going to be using this. Once we're working, I imagine that we're going to be the ones who first really, really use this in the way that we work. And so we should really try and get used to it now, because then it makes it way easier to start things later on.
I'm going to just quickly come back to vision for a second. And as you were talking, I thought about this. You ever watch a big research documentary where they go in depth and they start looking at all the different pieces they put together and, to come up with a conclusion? And you might be thinking, wow, and they're really leaning into how much work was done to come to the conclusion, to figure out what happened. Understanding, if you've been using AI in the last 2-3 years and you've been pretty, lots of reps and sets, you start to quickly understand that what those documentaries look like and all that work, that could happen in minutes, seconds, in a lot of cases. And I think making that connection is a breakthrough, because you don't need to go through all that arduous work to get to the spot. And I'm not saying the first time is going to be, a bed of roses, but probably the 4th, 5th time, it's going to be pretty awesome. So I encourage people to think about that. You don't need to do all this arduous work to get to those results anymore, because the technology is there, the capability is there, and real world examples that we can apply right now.
Sometimes predictions that are published will spark our own vision for what could be. So let me share a couple predictions that I noticed were published recently about what could happen around business and finance with Web3 and AI. So one prediction was covered in Forbes, and this is a decade out vision. They predict that automated AI agents, these kind of customized, highly specialized AIs with one task to do for one organization or person, these AI agents, will manage treasury for decentralized organizations called DAOs, decentralized autonomous organizations, and the token-based capital allocation will become standard. So what that means is the AI agents will manage all of the token ownership, allocation. There'll be no manual process, no human error, no fraud. And that is the vision for what could happen in a decade. I'll give you another one that was, presented by Ernst & Young a year from now. They say that if you blend AI and Web3, it will reduce friction and build trust in all the enterprise flows. And what they're saying is that right now, people have a lack of trust when it comes to big, huge Fortune 500 companies. And if these Fortune 500 companies implement AI, that might be better for the experience. If they implement Web3, that might be better for the back end supply chain and the trustworthiness. But if you implement both, a year from now, these Fortune 500 companies can really earn the trust and favor and, a commitment of their clients. So those are a couple things that I had read that I thought to myself, these are the types of things that big companies are predicting that can spark some of our ideas around business and finance. Any other thoughts for you guys in terms of what you're looking forward to in the world that we are all co-creating together with this technology?
I wonder how that's going to play out. I mean, 10 years seems fair. But I wonder how that's going to play out when money's involved. And the disclaimer at the bottom of most of these AIs is I'm prone to making mistakes. Like that seems not like impossible to get past that, but you would have to get past that, because I don't think if you had a choice, I'm going to have a wealth manager. And I know this very well from working in finance. In fact, I worked at Arthur Young before it merged with Ernst & Young and was there when it happened. You realize that, at least in my experience, people are going to pick the human. If Ian's been managing wealth for, 30 years, I'm going to pick him. Like, yeah, your bots, yeah, they're great. And they don't, great, wonderful. This thing makes mistakes. I'm just not going to do it. I'm going to put my whole life, save it. It feels uncomfortable. So I feel
especially
like,
when you're dealing with money.
Oh yeah, I mean, I think, and I think it's as simple as asking. And I thought about something else. I'm waiting to see more input from everyday people that probably have more helpful insight into what things are. I think that as much as people have specialized skills, and I'm not discounting that in any way, I think sometimes someone who has no knowledge of something can look at it and from a common sense perspective bring wisdom that is being overlooked because of the bias of the actual experience. Because I think Kenton can look at something because he understood that seems like a scam. It doesn't take I get it. Like that's a lot of money. So stuff like that I think is going to be particularly helpful.
We were talking this morning about how you had talked a lot about how Microsoft had released that jobs that will stay likely and jobs that won't stay likely. And models were one that was likely to not stay because you can make an image of someone who looks like someone who you'd want to pay a lot of money. You don't even have to go find them.
Okay, wait a second. How do you feel about that when some people feel like I want to look at the real person?
See, that's where I'm getting.
So here's because everyone's going to know, man, that's like an image. It's not even real. And it looks great. It looks better than a real person. That's where we as humans can never deny the connectivity of even being in the same room and being able to FaceTime and see the expression on your eyes and the laughs and the chuckles and the emotion that you can actually share with something that's organic. And so I think we'll always have a hybrid system. We are in control, not it in control of us. So we'll utilize the tool as best as we can, just like a hammer. Without the hammer, it's going to be hard to hit the nail. It might even hurt your hand if you tried. So we're going to use the tool like a hammer. It's going to benefit us, and we are going to tell it what to do, not it tell us what to do.
Yeah, I mean, that's where I'm getting with it. That as much as it might be able to make images of models that are exactly what these companies would want, people don't really want to see an image of something that's not real over someone who is real. That humanness.
Sure. I was just going to say, maybe
not, but
maybe
overall,
there's some things I want to see that, like, surfing, guy surfing on a wave. I want to see that he's be nice to eat, big, strong. He's not going to have. I'm not going to think this guy might die on this thing, whatever that it may be, and it's good. Or it's an AI generation. So wow, what a cool way to see a 100-foot wave surf, and I don't have to worry about the guy getting wiped out and never coming back.
Well, I think that's my vision.
Pretty sweet.
I think that in the beginning, AI is going to seem like, oh yeah, we're just going to go with AI. But then, like you were saying earlier, Nigel, once you get to the point where it's like, okay, AI is really good, but for this task, I want to see a human do it because we have AI doing all this other stuff. But AI doesn't have that humanness. It doesn't have that realness. Like if you're on a FaceTime, the way that your eyes interact, like there's so many subconscious things going on that you don't even realize it. But if you were looking at some kind of AI generated FaceTime bot, it would feel completely off. You wouldn't be able to put your finger on what it is that makes it off, but it would feel super wrong. And so it's that humanness that makes us want to let humans do those things. It's why I think writing and storytelling is something that will never go away for humans themselves. AI can try and make cool stories, but that's just based off what it's seen in the past. AI can try and create its own things, but it's in the end just going to co-create, because humans are the ones who come up with the ideas, and the ideas is the storytelling.
But maybe more importantly, and I'm hearing what you're saying, do you think that that is making you connect more with as much as you use AI, do you think that's making you connect more with your humanity?
For sure. I think it makes me realize more that, like, I would never notice the thing I just said about the FaceTime, but now it makes me realize, oh, wow, it's so interesting the way that our brains, like, once we look at each other's eyes, it's almost like we, like, lock together. That's such an interesting thing, but I never would have thought of that unless I had a reason to. And it's these kinds of things that I think make it so that people will realize, okay, AI is really useful, but we want to be humans. AI is going to co-create with us. It's not going to create its entirely own things entirely on its own.
Well, AI can't do anything on its own because AI is dependent upon our data. And based on the ratings, one of the greatest movies that's ever come out with Ice Cube, War of the Worlds, it's got a radical 0% on Rotten Tomatoes.
I think it was probably around 0.
It was a unique
not the
movie.
greatest movie.
And that's where bad is good and good is bad, right?
Yeah, it was
Zero-
kind of funny to watch
zero-
one
I
time.
mean,
I enjoyed it, but that's because I'm easily pleased. But it was all about machines eating data. The point is, right now we see AI co-creating supervised, like a Tesla self-driving supervised. We do anticipate having AI do full creation on our behalf, unsupervised, like a Tesla driving us around without us having to hold the steering wheel or have our eyes, with the camera. The question is, how soon will AI create without any co-creation or direction or guidance? AI just creating based on the data it has, like a Tesla driving a car around, picking people up like a taxi without anyone telling it where to go. So, and where does that actually lead? And will AI want to consume things, not just create things or co-create things? Will it want to consume things? And will it actually foster a unlimited economy because it wants to? So there's a lot that could be. And when it comes to people saying, no, we just want real, natural, analog human stuff, it's like, well, think of all the time you spend watching, TV or the Netflix and Primes and Hulus of the world. How much are you watching fake stuff and how much are you watching documentaries? Think of all the music you listen to. How much is highly produced digital music and how much is rough acoustic? Think about how you consume things today and the way that humans in developed nations are consuming things. Primarily, we want our music to be ear candy. We want it to be highly produced, highly auto-tuned. We want all the right openers and closers and strings and pads. That's what we want with our music. With our movies, we don't want shaky cameras. We don't want to watch a Zoom movie. That's what they're calling War of the Worlds. Right? We want to see things that are appetizing to us. And so that is a big thing that I think people desire. We'll be back again for our last segment here at Beachside Tech Talk. We're at 1340 a.m. KOMY. Thank you for joining us. Welcome back to Beachside Tech Talk here at 1340 AM KOMY, home of Schoolhouse Radio. Hello, radio. I like that. Hello, radio. I just did a new commercial for the radio station because we transitioned from 11 to noon, and now we have the noon to 2 spot every day, which is a joy to spend time with all of you that are here with me and be able to share our conversations with those that tune in here to the radio or those that watch online. One thing that's interesting about the radio is there's no way to really tell the impact that we're having in terms of analog radio. The one way we could do that is to open up the phone lines. People can call in. My resistance to having people call in to their local radio is it's not just me. If it was just me and I'm just talking and I want someone to talk to, then yeah, call in, right? Yeah. Even if it's just me and one guy, but we got a full house in here, right? There's 4 of us. Oftentimes there's 5. Sometimes, again, I guess there's 5 because Kenny's here. Sometimes there's
really
6
more
or
than
7.
that,
I mean, we've had a dozen people in here. And so I'm hesitant to do that, but I can say this. When you look at the reach of this radio station, it is profound. In Santa Cruz County, Monterey County, the Silicon Valley, and beyond, where this broadcast can reach, because it's a super powerful antenna right here on the water, and you can hear it all over the place, but you can hear it clearly. There's not a lot of 1340 AM competition out there within local driving distance. So we have a pretty profound reach. And apparently it could reach as many as 2.5 million people based on the data I've done. But KOMY hasn't ever published anything. Even KSCO never published anything for their 1080 station and their 3 FM stations. I think there's a hesitancy to say, well, this is how big our reach is. This is how many homes we reach. This is how many people listen. And, I imagine it would take something like anybody that fills out this form, we will give you a $20 Starbucks card. And then I imagine that however many people are listening to my voice right now, I'd be like, for a $20 Starbucks card, I'll go fill out your form, let you know I'm listening. But one thing that's an advantage of doing broadcasting online, which every time we do this, we do broadcast on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, X, and LinkedIn. And across those channels, I have about 30,000 followers. So there's a network of people that I've connected with over the last 15 or so years being online. So last night, when Malakye and I were kind of watching War of the Worlds, we were barely
watched the whole thing,
we were
which
barely
I
tuned
do
in.
kind of regret. I think it would have been a little more advantageous if I decided to go scroll on X. But the thing is, everything that I do in life, I want to always acknowledge that there is going to be a large benefit I could take from it.
Well, here's what we found out while we did it. We clicked on all the links of what we've done, and we pulled the data and did some calculations. And so here is the impact of Beachside Tech Talk for the first 32 shows. And what I want to talk about with you guys for the next 20 or so minutes is what we've learned doing this, because today's talk is AI and Web3, business and finance. And this Beachside Tech Talk should be a business. We should be able to lock in partners and advertisers and sponsors and folks that will help us be sustaining, people that will money coming in that will motivate us to do this for the long haul, not just kick something off, but have something long term. Yeah. And so here's the numbers that we discovered last night. We have had 128 comments. So that's unique, engagement. I don't think it's that easy to get people to jump on and start chit-chatting with you. We have received 472 shares. So that's encouraging. People have found value.
People sharing stuff.
Yeah, people have found value in what we're doing with our broadcast of this radio show. We got 747 likes. That's like a massive airplane of likes. And
I love that symmetric. I feel like there's always in like the nature documentaries, they're like, that's the weight of an elephant.
Keep going. I think people are enjoying your voice. You keep talking. Tell me more about the giraffe.
Sorry,
and the tiger. No, I'm digging it. The rhino. The unicorn. So we got to find that unicorn. And finally, the views or impressions, that number tallied up at 38,160. So that was encouraging to Malakye and I last night as we're talking about the show and how we're interacting with the internet, and having something that we want to always be mindful of our radio audience. We don't want to do a podcast at the radio show. We want to do a legitimate radio show for local radio, for the local Santa Cruz County and beyond, Monterey County and Silicon Valley, and maybe reaching into part of the San Francisco Bay Area. We want to do so in a way that is authentic and beneficial for the locals. Yeah, but we also want to share it with folks that are online, because, hey, there's another avenue. And I figured out how to use this tool called StreamYard for anybody that wants to figure out how to broadcast lots of places. StreamYard.com. StreamYard is the tool that we're using. And then we also use our product, Attention Live, attn.live, to do all sorts of fun things around communication. Go ahead, son. What were you going to say?
It's fine. I think I'll pass the ball over to Nigel, because I feel like you got something important to say about community engagement.
You can see that sparkle in Nigel's eye.
Well, yes.
Well, yes.
Yes, I do have something important to say.
I think, all those, all that attention that's being gotten, we would have had no other way of knowing that with just the radio by itself. So, I mean, I think the biggest lesson or, example there is, if you have a radio show and now it's on YouTube and it's on LinkedIn, it's in more places for people to find you where they already reside. I think just in general, it's easier for, if you're already on YouTube or you're active on LinkedIn or whatever the case may be, it's easy for you to just quickly, search, Beachside Tech Talks and find, where it is. In fact, well, I do it the other way. I just search for Ian and then do it that way.
Yeah.
When I share, I mean, so it makes it easy. But again, it's how you connect. I think when you find things that you have in common, that opens the door for cooperative collaboration, and that is where the opportunity happens. And for like a local business, if you're here and you're in this community, having something that's local centric that talks about the area, I think is particularly important. And as a visitor here in Santa Cruz and at the radio station and a number of other places, it's been quite a fantastic experience.
Yeah, I'm glad you got to enjoy it. We've totally enjoyed having you here. I think we've gotten to the point where our content has now been to where I would be willing to say, yeah, I'd recommend that, because now we all really do enjoy having the conversations. We always have this whole time, but now we actually have something that seems like it's of value to people. The things that we talk about have genuine relevance. Like we're constantly talking about the news, whether that's local, Central California, US, or the entire globe. We're always talking about something that we want to have genuine relevance, because that's what people actually want to hear.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think the fact that we have intergenerational conversations is huge. Yeah. It's something that, if you look at the content, you can just tell that is something that's, at least unique in some regard. Not to mention going live every single day. That's also another piece, and just the number of people. Ian's, the other day someone walked in and was like, "Wow, there's a lot of people in here." Yeah.
Yes, they are.
And
yeah, right now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 people inside the room.
So I think just by the numbers alone, I think we have a better chance of exploring different perspectives, which I think we're sometimes limited by, just by the fact that we're not even having as many conversations, or so it feels. That might not play out with the data, but I just don't feel like we have as many conversations. And I certainly know that I haven't had a consistent set of conversations over a sustained period of time with 5, 6, 7 people. Like that's a lot. That's a big deal, because you don't usually even get that.
Yeah. It'd be way different if it was just Dad here talking about his big visions and the things that are happening right now. Because, of course, plenty of people would appeal to that. They'd be like, oh, yes, I love all this stuff. But a lot of those people would have a similar perspective to Dad. And that's why it's so vital and useful that we have 4 other co-hosts who each have a completely different perspective. Each of us is in a different set of standards or just way that we do things. and we each are talking to a completely different audience. I mean, mine is young people and students, which is completely different than all you four. And so it makes it way easier to actually give real value to the people listening.
But you also see, like, I think you're talking to a way bigger audience than your audience.
That's true, yeah.
You
Not just that.
Right,
but
because what happens is someone sees you talking with your grandfather. That means you're relatable to somebody who's talking to their grandfather. Like, I think there's a lot of connective tissue there that, that comes out of this.
I've done a couple hundred keynotes the last decade or so. I've interviewed well over 1,000 people, and primarily in the AI and Web3 space. Most of my interviews are 10 minutes to an hour. I don't do most of the talking. I like to think of myself as a curious person. I enjoy the process of conversation. And most of my keynotes are like 5 or 10 minutes. Now, like in certain places, if I go to Asia, they're grateful that I flew all the way out there. So I might do 3 30-minute keynotes at an event there. But when I'm in America, oftentimes I just say, hey, just give me like the final 5 or 10 minutes and I'll jump on stage and close us out. And I find that if I'm talking by like just a solo monologue, I can get my point across pretty easily. And if I'm doing a solo monologue, like if I did the radio station by myself, I'd stand up. I'd stand up and I would not have a very long show. And it would just be different.
That's right? Not true. You'd one wheel.
I'd one wheel. I'd have a wireless mic here at the radio station. I'd one wheel around and be silly. But I would very quickly run out of things that I find engaging. Mm-hmm. And so the advantage to having a conversation with the three of you, and oftentimes with Ted, it's the four of you and other guests, all of a sudden, it gets mixed up. And pretty soon I'll start inviting, like I want to invite Jeremy Allman, the founder of Paystand, who we were talking about. I want to invite Aaron and Orion, the founders of Life Aid. And, there's so many great companies that have started here that my friends are a part of. I want to invite people that run the most important nonprofits. I want to invite Raymond and his board at Community Bridges. I want to invite people that, would like to have a voice and would like to touch the local community. And so we'll find ways of including other people in this conversation. But first, as Malakye said, we had to create an identity. Right? Like, what is Beachside Tech Talk? I named it that because we're here on the sand, on the lagoon, looking at the ocean. My house is on the sand, looking at the Capitola Wharf. And so I can do more content creation from there. I thought Beachside Tech Talk worked. Also, I was doing all these interviews over the last 10 years, and I called them fireside chats because that was the thing to do. You call something a fireside chat. I'm not sure why. There's no fire. I guess it's because it's supposed to be like a warm, cozy conversation. And I thought, I'm at the beach. I should call this a beachside chat instead of a fireside chat.
A cold, salty conversation.
Cold and salty. And so that's kind of how it started. But we're figuring out our identity. We're figuring out, what it is that each of us bring to the table. Something that's really unique is that all of us are really different from one another. We have different backgrounds, different. This is true for everybody, but it's very true for the five of us, if you include Ted. We are quite different from one another. We have different perspectives. We have different curiosities. We have different ways of seeing the world, different ways of communicating, obviously way different experience in terms of what we've done. And so I think we bring a lot to a diverse audience. I think somebody can jump in and they're in the trades, they're an entrepreneur, is a construction world, and they really connect with Dan, right? They're a young person, or they're an athlete, or they're competing in some sort of sport, and they really connect with Malakye. So whatever it is, people have a chance to connect, and they can kind of grab somebody and say, oh, I like it when Nigel talks, because when Nigel talks, it kind of connects with me. Like, I vibe with Nigel. We come from the same world, or we think a similar way. And so that's one of the advantages of having a large team, that we can do this show together. We still have another probably 7 or so minutes. So we got some time to chit chat. I'd like to hear more what you guys think about where we go from here. Tomorrow is our last day to have the four of us here in the studio. We're going to hand off Fridays to Dan and Nigel. I was traveling quite a bit over the summer, and they had already taken some of those weeks. And people love to hear from the two of you, and it's a totally different vibe. I may start doing some more of this type of stuff in a different format at the house. I can do things a bit differently there. And so we'll just kind of continue to find our way. But what do you guys think about where we're at, where we're going? And, for you, Dan, are you encouraged with the audience that we have that we just mentioned?
I think that the radio is still in. I think the vibe is still there. This is listening on sound waves is something that people can do and multitask at the same time. Very grateful to have been here for the last month and a half. Nigel and I got to spend 2 weeks together as a guest host onto the show. And we're going to be filling in a Friday breakout session for just to wrap the week up and see if we can't do things a little bit better. But for today, the business and finance section, I think that's just a great topic that we can spend time in talking about that, because it is multi-generational, it is multi-communal, and something comes off the top of my head. I'd like to throw out a shout to the Aptos Village Shopping Center that's just been done completed by the Swenson Builders Company. It's right there in Trout Gulch area, and that's where I live right now. And being able to see how they've been able to integrate this new building era and actually bring a digital village together. So what people are starting to notice as they build these multi-layered hybrid communities of commercial and residential mixed in a hybrid system, like the Aptos Village Center has the New Leaf Market and Penny Ice Creamery and a couple of other merchants that are like the shoe and sock place there. But above it is a retail, a residential. There's retail and then there's residential, and they're bringing all of that together. And in their digital village, they have initiatives that have included the free high-speed Wi-Fi. So businesses and the residents are able to share that type of internet service as a conglomerate and not have to worry about an independent payout for that. Plus, they get great speeds and stuff. So they are that digital village that they're bringing together, a hybrid unit to not put such a big building footprint on small communities. Mm-hmm. So they keep that flavor of, we're going to build and we're going to upgrade our local community, but we're also going to keep the flavor of we don't want to create too much noise. We don't want to create a big building footprint. And by having residential and commercial mixing together, it makes a better integration. Got to keep it kind of quiet, keep it kind of cleaner. I'm sure there's HOAs or something that have been put into effect that these businesses and tenants are living together. So we're going to have to form some kind of a unison. But having a digital village that they've created, and it's there to read about. And I think they're going to be able to do a grand opening at the end of this year sometime, because they're just finishing up their final phase. So congratulations to that. And it's a great example.
It's gone up real fast too.
Yeah, and congratulations directly to Jeff Huff, who runs Swenson Builders, good friend of our family.
I love Jeff so much.
And his team. Of course, it takes a team to do that. We live in the Capitola Village. Last year, 2024, I was living overseas most of the time, and being in the village now for the last year and being home and not traveling much, it's been amazing to see the local community. And just really feel what it is to be like a local. And I think Santa Cruz is really, really doing well as a city in a bunch of different ways. You see some of the businesses that we've mentioned that are doing well. Swenson is another example of a business that continues to do well. And then you see all the tourists come. Like I go to the boardwalk, all the lines are full. Mm-hmm. Go to the Santa Cruz Wharf, thing is packed. Right? You go to the village, there's always something going on. You got live music in the village like 10 times a week because they have a couple different venues. It's incredible.
Take that, COVID.
That's right. Oh, that was weird. I just ran into a friend in the village yesterday.
Like, what's going on?
Him and his wife got COVID. They went and visited their family, and they both got COVID. Their son didn't. Their son's maybe, I'll just guess, maybe 10 to 12. And they're like, "Oh no, don't hug us. We got COVID." I'm like, really? Nobody's told me they got COVID for a while. How do you feel? They said, we felt super tired yesterday and now we feel fine, but apparently we got it. So we don't want to be contagious. So I guess that's what COVID's become. It's become a summertime cold.
It was a thing.
It was definitely
it was
a thing. And Santa Cruz fought against it. The Capitol Village fought against COVID in a big way. They turned those parking spots into outdoor dining. They were very aggressive in trying to still maintain an opportunity for people to be outside and congregate and be together. And I think it's important. You know, people have their opinions about what was. And
it really pushed the internet and the Web3
it did.
forward so much. So. Just the fact that everybody had to get interconnected onto an internet system in order to just keep in contact with each other. The Zoom meetings went, you know, from low figures to exponential X, 10X, 10X, 20X. Everybody was jumping on board. So it made us grow, and we had growing pains from it. But I think that we're better for it. And again, like you were just saying, Ian, someone got COVID, and I think the first thing in my mind goes, what? What is that again?
Right.
It's like we've forgotten about it.
It's wild.
Never have we ever been, the whole country or the whole world has masked up and put a 6 foot parameters around each other to not even be able to handshake and hug. And, you know, you got rid of half of our faces. And what I said earlier, you just go off of expression, and we are emotional individuals. And if I can't see from your eyes down, I don't even know if you're really loving me and in the conversation or not, you know, so. COVID. And
COVID. Well, friends, thanks for being here with me. We'll be back again tomorrow. And so as we get ready to wrap up our show, let me just say to everyone out there that is hearing my voice, you know, just as COVID is getting a from us, I hope that some of your financial concerns or health concerns or relational concerns might get a little in the future with the world that's being created through technology. I am hopeful that things are going to get better for all of us. And that is what we talk a lot about here at Beachside Tech Talk. We will be back again tomorrow. And the topic for tomorrow will be news and media. And I think that'll be something that's compelling to think about. And for all the independent journalists out there, whether you're someone like us that's just chit-chatting or doing true investigative journalism, keep going and use AI for your benefit. Goodbye, everybody.